Well, I'm about to get sick from watching my TV. Been checking out the news till my eyeballs fail to see. I mean to say that every day is just another rotten mess. And when it's going to change, my friend, is anybody's guess. Yeah, I've tended lately to ignore the news, even if I hear it, and it's only on the radio if I do hear it. But it's nothing but nonsense, really. I think local news, I always avoided that actually on the television, where they cut to the local studio and say somebody fell over in the street and maybe even cut and bruised their knee, things like that. Somebody left their car window open and the rain wet the seat. I know it was a bit more dramatic than that, maybe, but it wasn't very gripping, even though it might have just happened down the road. Well, I can't think of anything that happened just down the road from me, because nothing happens around here. And if it does, it's not reported on. So the local news possibly is correct, but international news or national news is, I think it mostly is made up bullshit. Especially when they talk about sending helicopters to Mars. Now, what they tell us about Mars is, of course, it's all wrong, every bit of it. It is not a planet. It is not a spherical rock. There's absolutely no evidence for that. Never mind proof. There's no evidence to suggest that it might be a spherical rock about the size of, well, isn't it something like 2/3 the size of Earth or something like that? So they say, well, again, bullshit. So they're going to send a helicopter. Now, from what I understand about their information from this hoax place and the hoax mission, is that Mars doesn't really have an atmosphere, a very thin atmosphere.
Though I wouldn't like the idea of a globe, is just nonsense,
Of course it is. It's fairy tale. It's Disneyland. It's
Yeah.
Father Christmas. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a story for children. It's bollocks.
It's like the
Utter
globe,
fucking
you know, it's like,
nonsense.
that's more a globe, you know.
Well, that's more like probably what we're
Well,
living.
we're on, you know.
Yeah.
Whoever designed that
Giant
probably thought,
guitar
this is
sugar.
what we are, you know.
So Mars's atmosphere is thin, to say the least. You may as well judge it by that Arnold Schwarzenegger film. I can't remember what it's called now. It was equally as ridiculous, but there's a scene in it where it goes outside the complex that they built on Mars, and without his a spacesuit, and his head starts to expand, and it should just like pop. But I think he's saved in the nick of time or something. I can't remember actually. It's such bullshit. But you may as well go by that as anything that NASA scientists tell you, because that is just like a fairy tale. But if we take the Arnold Schwarzenegger film as correct, because I'm sure they based it on some NASA bullshit, but I'm not sure, but that's what they generally do. Then how the fuck is a helicopter going to fly in that? I mean, come on. It just, people are, oh yeah, they must have worked it out. Deary me. Now, so if we were on a spinning globe, Earth, and you hovered in a helicopter, so you lifted off the ground and you just hovered there for, oh, look at all my sweat. Yes, I've been working hard this morning. So you hovered there. You should be able to see the Earth turn below you, because the atmosphere, so the tell us, is fixed to the Earth. That's why we don't feel all the, the 1,000-mile-an-hour wind. So, but the helicopter isn't fixed to the Earth or to the atmosphere. So why don't you see the Earth just spinning underneath it? I'll tell you why. Because it's not spinning underneath it, and it's not a sphere. It's so obvious that the obvious truth blinds people. It upsets their equilibrium. What they've based their life on is total bullshit, and they can't handle the fact that they've been lied to, and everything they know is wrong. So they are subject to cognitive dissonance, where I've said it before, where what they actually observe, the facts, the undeniable facts that they observe, doesn't mesh with the knowledge that they've built up over the years of, bullshit, pseudoscience. So they feel they can't take it, they can't, nothing works, and they just deny. The easiest thing is to shut it out and deny their own observations. And that's what ball earthers do. I know that there are far more people now actually realizing that they've been lied to, which is a great thing, and that's the whole purpose of this. For people to take control of their lives, take back control. They never had actually control, so take control. Okay, when you were born, you probably had more control over your life than when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s. Doesn't matter. In fact, the longer you live, I think if you're that way out, the more programmed you become, and therefore the more difficult it is for you to break free of the bullshit. It's very sad, actually, to see all these people, all these potential brilliant people that have been just lost by wrong, not just wrong information, but it's meant to be to steer you away from what we all should know. It's there to, well, some people might say it's there to protect us, so we don't know the full story, because if we did, it would be too much for us to handle. But tell me, I don't care. Tell me everything. Worst case scenario, just let's think of the worst case scenario that it could be. So there's a big monster that made this place, and he's farming us, or it's farming us for, let's just think now, it's family, and we're all food. I don't know. It doesn't really work, that, does it? Because when we die, most of us are buried or burned, or well, that's it really, isn't it? Buried or burned? Yeah. Oh yes, buried at sea maybe. I'd like to be sent into space when I die. I'd like my body to be flown to Mars, maybe. Yeah, that would be good. Maybe I could pilot the helicopter as a corpse. Yeah, I'll have to suggest that to my relatives to see if they could arrange that for me. Now, I've got to thinking about the influence of the media, and of course it's extremely influential, even though you can deny that you've ever been influenced by it, but you'd be a fool to do that because everybody has. And back before television and radio, there was still the written word and the spoken word, but the written word, you know, in messages and books, that was it really, newspapers. And before that, it would be the well, it would just be people telling you stuff. The wise people, the elders, the people in your village, perhaps, if you had something wrong with you, an ailment, there'd be somebody in the village you could conjure up, if that's the right word, maybe not, but it would be later on. But prepare a remedy from the natural world. And so how did this spread throughout the earth? Well, I was thinking about the European countries that colonized the rest of the world, and that's where they came from, just post Genghis Khan. Anyway, let's just say that the Western world started to spread everywhere. You got Portugal and Spain in the South America, a little bit of North America, I think, as well. France in North America, Germany, kind of the Middle East, wasn't it, where they were mainly dominant, Middle East and Turkey, and Holland, of course, in Africa, and they also claim to have discovered Easter Island, even though the Polynesians probably got there, centuries before. Who knows? You get all these countries, of course. Britain is the worst offender, in my opinion. Terrible things that they did throughout the world, where the sun never set on the empire, which it doesn't set anyway, actually. It just goes away so you can't see it. But that was the claim. It never set. There was always sun shining on a bit of the British Empire, in other words. And I thought, what about Italy? Where's their great colonies? And I couldn't think of any. Italy. Albania? That was sort of Second World War time, wasn't it? Albania. Anyway, it suddenly hit me. Of course, what a fool. Because all the European colonies took one thing with them that came from the Roman Empire, and that is Christianity. And that that to me is an incredibly destructive force.